The alarm bells rang through the command deck of the Zephyrian battleship Eternal Glory. Admiral Kethvar stepped forward, his scaled hands gripping the metal rail as he stared at the main screen. A small dot appeared on the edge of their sensors, moving slowly through space. "Report," he commanded in his deep voice. Lieutenant Vextar looked up from his station. "Unknown vessel detected, Admiral. It's small, maybe half the size of our smallest cruiser. The ship appears to be made of basic metal alloys. No energy shields detected." Admiral Kethvar's yellow eyes narrowed. In his 30 years of service to the Zephyrian Empire, he had conquered dozens of worlds. Most species surrendered when they saw the might of the Empire's fleet. Those who didn't surrender were quickly destroyed. "Any response to our identification signals?" the Admiral asked. "None. Sir, the vessel continues on its current path. It seems to be scanning our ships." The Admiral laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Scanning us? With what technology? Send the standard warning. Tell them to surrender immediately or face destruction." The communications officer sent the message. They waited. The small ship continued moving, seemingly ignoring the massive Zephyrian fleet that surrounded it. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." A woman's voice filled. The bridge, speaking in a language the ship's computers quickly translated. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Survey Vessel Defiance. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic contact. We are explorers, not warriors. Please respond." Admiral Kethvar snorted. "Explorers? In this sector? They're either spies or fools." He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge the tractor beams. We'll bring them aboard and question them properly." The Defiance was a strange-looking ship. Unlike the smooth, curved hulls of Zephyrian vessels, it was angular and rough. Large engines stuck out from its back end, and weapon ports dotted its sides. To Zephyrian eyes, it looked primitive and ugly. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the alien fleet on her screens. She was a tall woman with short black hair and serious brown eyes. She had been exploring space for 10 years, but this was her first contact with an alien species. "Captain," her science officer said, "they're powering up some kind of beam weapon. It looks like they want to grab us." Sarah nodded. "Any word from Earth Command?" "Negative, Captain. We're too far out for real-time communication." Sarah looked at her crew. There were only 25 people aboard the Defiance compared to the thousands on each alien ship. But her ship had something the aliens didn't know about. "Dr. Martinez," she called to her chief scientist, "is the Phantom Drive ready?" Dr. Elena Martinez looked up from her console. She was a small woman with gray hair and bright eyes. "Ready, Captain. The quantum field generators are online." Sarah took a deep breath. Earth had given her specific orders. If she met hostile aliens, she was to defend herself and gather as much information as possible. The Phantom Drive was humanity's greatest secret, developed only 5 years ago. "Activate." "Phantom Drive on my command," Sarah ordered. The Zephyrian tractor beams reached out toward the human ship. They were powerful enough to hold a ship 10 times larger than the Defiance. Admiral Kethvar smiled, expecting to see the small vessel pulled helplessly toward his fleet. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ship became transparent, like a ghost. The tractor beams passed right through it, as if it wasn't there. Then the ship vanished completely from their sensors. "What just happened?" Admiral Kethvar roared. "I don't know, sir." Lieutenant Vextar's voice was high with panic. "The ship just disappeared. Our sensors show nothing. Find it! Now!" The Zephyrian fleet spread out, searching for the missing vessel. Their advanced sensors swept through space but found nothing. It was as if the human ship had never existed. Then their sensors screamed a warning. The Defiance materialized directly behind the Zephyrian formation. It was no longer the same distance away. Somehow, it had moved to the perfect attack position without being detected. "Impossible," Admiral Kethvar whispered. Captain Chen's voice came through the communications again. We offered peace. You chose war. We will defend ourselves. The human ship opened fire, but these weren't normal weapons. Instead of energy beams or missiles, the Defiance fired something the Zephyrians had never seen before. The weapons seemed to tear holes in space itself, creating small black rifts that ignored shields and armor completely. 3 Zephyrian cruisers exploded instantly. Their shields, which could stop the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, did nothing against the human attack. The black rifts cut through the ships like they were made of paper. "Return fire!" Admiral Kethvar screamed. The Zephyrian fleet turned, their weapons on the human ship. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Defiance. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon focused on the tiny human vessel. The Defiance became transparent again. Every weapon passed through it harmlessly. Then it vanished once more. "Sir, we're detecting massive damage to cruisers. Bloodfang, Iron Death, and Star Render," the damage control officer reported. "All 3 ships are losing atmosphere. Bloodfang is breaking apart." Admiral Kethvar stared at the screen in shock. In 30 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. How could a primitive ship defeat advanced Zephyrian technology? The Defiance appeared again, this time above the Zephyrian formation. It fired once more, and another cruiser exploded. Then it disappeared again before the Zephyrians could respond. "Admiral," Lieutenant Vexitar said quietly, "perhaps we should retreat." "Retreat?" Admiral Kethvar turned on his subordinate, fury in his yellow eyes. "The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat from primitives." But even as he spoke, another cruiser exploded. The human ship seemed to appear and disappear at will, striking from impossible angles and vanishing before they could fight back. Captain Chen watched the alien fleet from her bridge. The Phantom Drive was working perfectly. By shifting her ship slightly out of normal space-time, she could move undetected and attack from any position. "Captain," Dr. Martinez reported, "the Phantom Drive is holding steady. We can maintain this for another hour at least." "Good. Target their command ship next." The Defiance appeared directly in front of the Eternal Glory. For a moment, the 2 ships faced each other across the emptiness of space. Admiral Kethvar could see the human vessel clearly on his screen, so close he could make out details on its hull. "Fire everything," he ordered. But before the Zephyrian weapons could charge, the Defiance spoke again. "This is your final warning." Captain Chen's voice was calm and steady. "Withdraw immediately, or we will destroy your remaining ships." Admiral Kethvar hesitated. He had lost 4 cruisers in less than 10 minutes. His remaining ships were in chaos, their crews terrified by an enemy they couldn't fight. "We will remember this," he transmitted back. "The Empire will return." "We'll be ready," Captain Chen replied. The Defiance vanished one final time. The Zephyrian fleet searched for hours, but the human ship was gone, leaving only wreckage and confusion behind. Admiral Kethvar stared at the empty space where the battle had been fought. In one short encounter, everything he thought he knew about warfare had changed. Somewhere out there was a species with technology that made the mighty Zephyrian Empire look weak. As his damaged fleet limped home, one thought filled his mind. The galaxy had just become a much more dangerous place. The Grand Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. Emperor Zarthul sat on his golden throne, his massive form casting shadows across the room. His red scales gleamed under the crystal lights as he listened to Admiral Kethvar's report. "You're telling me," the Emperor said slowly, "that one small ship destroyed 4 of our cruisers and escaped without taking any damage?" Admiral Kethvar kept his eyes on the floor. "Yes, Your Majesty. The enemy vessel could become invisible to our sensors and weapons. It appeared to move instantly from one location to another." "Impossible," declared Science Minister Thelkar. "No technology can do such things. Perhaps your sensors malfunctioned." Show them the recordings, Admiral HFY said quietly. The chamber's main screen activated, showing the battle from the Eternal Glory's sensors. The assembled Zephyrian leaders watched in silence as the human ship appeared and disappeared. Like a ghost, destroying their vessels with weapons that passed through shields like they didn't exist. Emperor Zarthul's claws dug into his throne's armrests. How is this possible? Dr. Carven, the Empire's greatest scientist, stepped forward. She was old even by Zephyrian standards, her scales faded to pale yellow. Your Majesty, I have studied these recordings for days. The enemy ship doesn't just become invisible. It phases out of normal space entirely. Explain, the Emperor commanded. They somehow shift between dimensions. While phased, they exist partially outside our reality. Our weapons and sensors cannot detect or affect them in this state. Minister Thelkar shook his head. The energy requirements would be enormous. A ship that small couldn't possibly generate enough power. That's what worries me, Dr. Carven replied. Either they have power sources beyond our understanding, or they're using principles of physics we haven't discovered. Far across the galaxy, Captain Sarah Chen sat in a conference room deep inside Earth's Central Command facility. The walls were lined with screens showing star charts and tactical displays. Around the table sat the most important people in human space. Admiral Rebecca Torres, head of Earth Defense, spoke first. Captain Chen, your report has caused quite a stir. First contact with a hostile alien empire, and you managed to defeat them decisively. Sarah nodded. The Zephyrians were definitely hostile, Admiral. They tried to capture us without any attempt at peaceful communication. Tell us about the Phantom Drive's performance, said Dr. Harrison Webb, Director of Advanced Research. Sarah looked at Dr. Martinez, who had accompanied her to Earth. The scientist activated a holographic display showing the Defiance's battle movements. The Phantom Drive worked perfectly, Dr. Martinez explained. We were able to phase in and out of normal space at will. The alien weapons couldn't touch us while we were phased. General Marcus Thompson, a large man with gray hair, leaned forward. How many ships did they have? 12 large vessels, Sarah replied, each one bigger than our largest battleship. If we had tried to fight them conventionally, we would have been destroyed in seconds. But you weren't fighting conventionally, Dr. Webb said with a smile. You were using humanity's greatest advantage. Sarah nodded. The Phantom Drive wasn't just advanced technology. It was something only humans could use. 5 years ago, scientists had discovered that human consciousness could interact with quantum fields in ways no other known species could achieve. Dr. Martinez pulled up another display. The Phantom Drive requires a direct neural interface with the ship's quantum field generators. The pilot's mind actually guides the phasing process. It's not something you can program into a computer. Why only humans? Admiral Torres asked. We're still not completely sure, Dr. Webb admitted, but it seems to be related to how human brains process reality. We naturally think in multiple dimensions and possibilities. Most species think in more linear patterns. Sarah remembered her first Phantom Drive training. It had been like learning to see with her mind instead of her eyes. The pilot had to visualize, the ship existing in several places at once, then choose which reality to make real. What about their weapons? General Thompson asked. Quantum torpedoes, Dr. Martinez explained. They create small rifts in space-time. Since they're not really energy weapons, shields can't stop them. Admiral Torres stood up and walked to the main star chart. Captain Chen, in your opinion, how dangerous is this Zephyrian empire? Sarah thought carefully before answering. They're very dangerous, Admiral. Their technology is advanced, and they clearly see us as a threat. But they think in conventional terms. They don't understand what they're really fighting against. Good, Admiral Torres said, because Earth Command has decided to authorize the Shadow Fleet project. Sarah's eyes widened. She had heard rumors about the Shadow Fleet, but thought it was just a story. Dr. Webb smiled at her expression. "Oh, it's very real, Captain. We've been building Phantom Drive ships in secret for 2 years. Small, fast vessels designed specifically for deep space reconnaissance." "How many ships?" Sarah asked. 50 so far, with more under construction. Each one crewed by pilots trained in Phantom Drive operation. General Thompson activated another display showing sleek, angular ships unlike anything in the regular Earth fleet. These vessels are designed to be invisible to conventional sensors even when not phased. When they do use their Phantom Drives, they're completely undetectable. "What's their mission?" Sarah asked. Admiral Torres turned back to the table. "Intelligence gathering. We need to learn everything we can about this Zephyrian Empire, their technology, their military strength, their territory, their weaknesses." Captain Chen, Dr. Webb, said, "You and Dr. Martinez will be leading the first Shadow Fleet mission. Your job is to infiltrate Zephyrian space and gather intelligence." Sarah felt a chill of excitement and fear. "How many ships will I have?" 12, Admiral Torres replied, "all equipped with the latest Phantom Drive technology and quantum weapons. Your mission is to observe and learn, not to fight. But if you're discovered, we defend ourselves," Sarah finished. "Exactly. The Zephyrians think they're hunting primitives with one lucky ship. Let them keep thinking that while we learn everything about them." Meanwhile, back on Nexus Prime, Emperor Zarthal was making his own plans. He had called together his war council in a private chamber beneath the palace. "This new species must be destroyed," he declared. "If word spreads that the Empire was defeated by primitives, our enemies will grow bold." War Marshal Drexhan, commander of the Empire's elite forces, nodded agreement. "I request permission to take the Crimson Fleet into their territory. We'll hunt down every ship they have." "Granted," the Emperor said. "But be careful. We still don't understand their technology." "Doctor," Carvin cleared her throat. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should try to capture one of their ships intact. If we could study their technology—" "After we've destroyed most of their fleet," War Marshal Drexhan interrupted. "I won't risk my ships trying to capture ghosts." And so, Emperor stood up, his massive form towering over the others. "Find them. Destroy them. But learn how they do what they do. The Empire has ruled for 1,000 years because we adapt and improve. We will not let primitives change that." As the council meeting ended, none of the Zephyrians realized they were already being watched. High above Nexus Prime, invisible to all sensors, a Shadow Fleet scout ship recorded everything through quantum scanners that could see through the planet's crust. Captain Lisa Park watched the alien leaders through her ship's advanced sensors. She was one of Earth's best Phantom Drive pilots, chosen specifically for deep infiltration missions. "Control, this is Ghost 1, she transmitted through quantum communication. "I have visual confirmation of the Zephyrian leadership. They're planning a major offensive." Back on Earth, Admiral Torres received the message. "Understood, Ghost 1. Continue observation. And Captain?" "Yes, Admiral. Remember, they still think we're just lucky primitives. Let's keep it that way until we're ready to show them what humanity can really do." Captain Park smiled as she watched the alien fleet preparing for war below. They had no idea that 12 human ships were already moving through their territory like phantoms, learning their secrets and preparing for the real battle to come. War Marshal Drexhan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crimson Vengeance. Around him, the Crimson Fleet prepared for departure. 50 of the Empire's most advanced warships, each one a masterpiece of Zephyrian military engineering. "Status. Report," he commanded. "All ships ready for hyperspace jump, War Marshal," his aide replied. "The fleet awaits your orders." Drexhan was not like other Zephyrian officers. Where they were cautious and followed rules, he was aggressive and bold. His dark red scales marked him as a member of the warrior caste, and his battle scars showed years of combat experience. "Begin the hunt," he ordered. The Crimson Fleet vanished into hyperspace, heading for the sector where the humans had been encountered. Drexhan's plan was simple. Find every human ship and destroy them before they could use their strange technology. What he didn't know was that the humans were already watching. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command center of Shadow Base, a hidden facility built inside an asteroid. Around her, holographic displays showed the movements of 12 Shadow Fleet ships spread across Zephyrian space. "Ghost 7 reporting," came a voice through the quantum communicator. "Zephyrian Fleet has jumped to hyperspace. 50 ships heading for Sector 7. Sarah nodded. "Acknowledged, Ghost 7. All Shadow ships, begin Operation Phantom Hunt. Remember, we're not trying to win battles. We're gathering intelligence." The Shadow Fleet had been operating in Zephyrian space for 2 months. Each ship was small and fast, with a crew of only 8 people. Their mission was to study Zephyrian technology and tactics while staying hidden, but staying hidden was about to become much harder. The Crimson Vengeance emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sector 7. War Marshal Drexhan immediately ordered his ships to spread out and begin searching. "Scan every asteroid, every planet, every piece of space debris," he commanded. "The humans are here somewhere." For 3 days, the Crimson Fleet found nothing. Then their luck changed. "War Marshal," called his sensor officer, "we're detecting an unknown energy signature near the 4th planet." Drexhan smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Take us there. Maximum speed." The human ship Swift Shadow was conducting a detailed scan of a Zephyrian communication station when their sensors detected the approaching fleet. "Captain Rodriguez," the sensor operator called out, "we've got 50 Zephyrian ships incoming. They'll be here in 10 minutes. Captain Maria Rodriguez was a veteran pilot with 15 years of experience. She had been chosen for the Shadow Fleet because of her skill with the Phantom Drive. "All stop," she ordered. "Prepare for emergency phase." The Swift Shadow activated its Phantom Drive just as the Crimson Fleet arrived. The ship became transparent and invisible to Zephyrian sensors. "Where are they?" Drexhan demanded as his ships surrounded the communication station. "I'm not detecting anything, War Marshal, but the energy signature was definitely here." Drexhan's eyes narrowed. "They're here. I can feel it. Begin a detailed scan of this entire area." For 6 hours, the Crimson Fleet searched the space around the station. The Swift Shadow remained phased, its crew watching and recording everything. The Zephyrians did. Captain Rodriguez learned valuable information about Zephyrian sensor technology and search patterns, but she also learned something more important. They were being hunted by someone who understood warfare. "This Drexhan is different," she told her crew. "He's not giving up like the others did." Finally, the Crimson Fleet moved on. The Swift Shadow waited until they were gone, then transmitted a coded message to Shadow Base. "This is Swift Shadow. The Zephyrians have a new commander. He's smart and persistent. All Shadow ships should be extra careful." Sarah Chen received the message with concern. Intelligence was important, but not if it cost them ships and crews. Over the next month, the game of cat and mouse continued. The Crimson Fleet found traces of human ships throughout their territory, but could never catch them. Each time they arrived somewhere, the humans had vanished like ghosts. But the humans weren't just running. They were learning. Captain James Wu piloted the Nightwalker through a Zephyrian shipyard, his Phantom Drive keeping him invisible. His ship's quantum scanners recorded detailed information about new Zephyrian warships under construction. "Control, this is Nightwalker," he transmitted. "I'm seeing ships bigger than anything we've encountered before. They're building something new." Sarah Chen studied the data from her command center. The Zephyrians were constructing massive battleships, each one twice the size of their largest cruisers. "Dr. Martinez," she called to her science officer. "What do you think?" Dr. Martinez examined the scans carefully. "These ships are designed specifically to fight Phantom Drive vessels. Look at these sensor arrays. They're trying to detect ships in phase. Can they do it? Not yet. But they're learning, just like we are. The Shadow War continued for another month. Human ships appeared throughout Zephyrian space, gathering information and occasionally engaging small patrol fleets. Each time the BIO, Zephyrians responded. The humans vanished before they could be caught. But War Marshal Drexhan was learning too. Captain Vorth, he called to one of his subordinates. I want sensor beacons placed in every system where the humans have been spotted. Link them all to a central monitoring station. What will that accomplish, War Marshal? Patience, Drexhan replied. When the humans appear again, we'll know instantly, and this time, we'll be ready for them. The sensor network took 3 weeks to install. Hundreds of small beacons spread across Zephyrian space, all connected to the monitoring station on the Crimson Vengeance. Captain Lisa Park was conducting a routine surveillance mission when the trap was sprung. Her ship, Ghost Runner, was observing a Zephyrian military base when alarms began sounding across the fleet. War Marshal, the sensor officer reported. We have a detection in Sector 12. The energy signature matches the humans. How long ago? Drexhan demanded. 30 seconds, sir. The ship is still there. For the first time since the hunt began, Drexhan smiled. All ships, converge on Sector 12. Maximum speed. Today we catch our ghosts. Captain Park realized something was wrong when she saw 50 Zephyrian ships jumping to hyperspace, all heading in her direction. Emergency phase, she ordered. The Ghost Runner became transparent just as the Crimson Fleet arrived. But this time, Drexhan was ready. Begin phase disruption bombardment, he commanded. The Zephyrian ships opened fire, but not at any specific target. Instead, they filled the entire area with a special type of energy beam designed to disrupt quantum fields. Captain Park felt her ship shudder as the Phantom Drive struggled to maintain phase. Warning lights flashed across her bridge. Captain, her engineer called out, the quantum field is destabilizing. We can't stay phased much longer. Hold together, Park ordered. Just a little longer. The bombardment continued for 10 minutes. Finally, Drexhan ordered his ships to stop. Scan for debris, he commanded, but there was no debris. The Ghost Runner had managed to stay phased just long enough to escape to a safe distance. Damn, Drexhan muttered. But then he smiled again. At least now we know they can be hurt. Captain Park transmitted an emergency report to Shadow Base. Control, this is Ghost Runner. The Zephyrians have developed a new weapon, some kind of phase disruptor. It nearly destroyed us. Sarah Chen received the message with growing concern. The Zephyrians were adapting faster than expected. Dr. Martinez, she said, how long before they perfect this phase disruptor? Maybe a month, maybe 2. When they do, our Phantom Drives won't protect us anymore. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing all 12 Shadow Fleet ships spread across enemy territory. They had gathered enormous amounts of intelligence, but the mission was becoming too dangerous. All Shadow ships, she transmitted, begin withdrawal to Rally Point Alpha. Operation Phantom Hunt is complete. One by one, the Shadow Fleet ships slipped away from their observation posts and headed home. They had spent 3 months in enemy A territory, learning everything they could about Zephyrian technology and tactics, but they had also taught the Zephyrians valuable lessons about human capabilities. War Marshal Drexhan stood on his bridge, studying reports from across his territory. The human ships were withdrawing, but he had expected that. Sir, his aide asked, should we pursue them? No, Drexhan replied. Let them go. We've learned what we need to know. He had spent months studying human tactics. Now he understood how they thought, how they fought, and most importantly, how they could be defeated. Prepare the fleet for a major offensive, he ordered. It's time to take this fight to their home territory. The hunt was over. The real war was about to begin. Emperor Zarthul stood before the massive war table in his throne room. Holographic displays showed the entire galaxy, with red markers indicating Zephyrian territory and blue dots marking suspected human locations. War Marshal Drexhan, the Emperor said, "Your hunt has lasted 4 months, yet the humans still evade us." Drexhan kept his head bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, we have learned much about their capabilities. We know how their phantom drive works, and we have developed weapons to counter it." "But they escaped." The Emperor's voice carried a dangerous edge. "Yes, Your Majesty, but not before we trace their retreat path. We believe we have found their home system." The Emperor's yellow eyes gleamed with interest. "Show me." Drexhan activated the holographic display, zooming in on a region of space far from Zephyrian territory. "Here, Your Majesty, a system with 1 inhabited planet. Our long-range scouts detected massive industrial activity and fleet movements." "How many ships do they have?" "Unknown, Your Majesty, but it doesn't matter. I request permission to take the Grand Fleet and destroy them completely." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. The Grand Fleet was 1/3 of the Empire's total military force. It had never been used against a single enemy before. "Granted," he finally said. "Take 500 ships, turn their homeworld into ash. Make sure no other species ever dares to challenge the Empire again." 3 days later, the largest fleet in Zephyrian history assembled at the edge of their territory. 500 warships, including the massive new battleships designed specifically to fight phantom drive vessels. War Marshal Drexhan stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Empire's Wrath. The ship was twice the size of his old vessel, armed with the latest phase disruptor weapons and quantum scanners. "All ships report ready for hyperspace jump," his navigation officer announced. "Begin the offensive," Drexhan commanded. The Grand Fleet vanished into hyperspace, heading for what they believed was the human homeworld. But they were heading into a trap. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Battle Station Omega, humanity's most advanced military facility. It wasn't built on Earth or any planet. Instead, it was constructed inside a massive asteroid in an empty system humans called Wolf's Gate. "Admiral Torres," Sarah reported, "long-range sensors confirm Zephyrian fleet movement, 500 ships heading directly for us." "Admiral Rebecca," Torres nodded grimly. "Just as we hoped. Dr. Webb, is the quantum communication network ready?" Dr. Harrison Webb looked up from his control station. "All ships are linked, Admiral. The fleet consciousness system is online." What the Zephyrians didn't know was that humans had developed something beyond individual phantom drives. Using quantum communication technology, human pilots could link their minds together, creating a shared consciousness that allowed perfect coordination across vast distances. "Captain Chen," Admiral Torres said, "take command of the defense fleet. You know their tactics better than anyone." Sarah saluted and headed for her ship. The Defiance had been rebuilt and upgraded with the latest human technology. Around it, 300 human vessels waited in formation. Unlike the scattered Shadow Fleet ships, these were warships built specifically for battle. Each one carried multiple phantom drive pilots and quantum weapons that could tear holes in space itself. "All ships, this is Captain Chen," Sarah transmitted. "Link up for fleet consciousness. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity can really do." One by one, the human pilots opened their minds to the quantum network. Sarah felt their thoughts joining with hers, creating a single unified intelligence that controlled 300 ships as easily as one person controlled their own body. The Zephyrian Grand Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Wolf's Gate system. War Marshal Drexhan immediately ordered his ships into battle formation. "Scan for the enemy fleet," he commanded. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting multiple energy signatures near the system's asteroid belt. It looks like they're waiting for us." Drexhan smiled. "Perfect. They're going to fight us head-on instead of running." Deploy the phase disruptor ships. This time, their phantom drives won't save them. The Zephyrian fleet advanced toward the human position. As they got closer, they could see the enemy ships clearly. 300 vessels arranged in a complex formation, not moving or trying to hide. They're either very brave or very stupid, Drexhan muttered. War Marshal, his weapons officer called out. We're in range. Orders? Open fire. Destroy them all. 500 Zephyrian ships unleashed their weapons at once. Thousands of energy, beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human fleet. Then something happened that Drexhan had never seen before. The entire human fleet phased at exactly the same moment. 300 ships became transparent simultaneously, and all the Zephyrian weapons passed harmlessly through them. But the humans didn't just phase defensively. While transparent, they moved with perfect coordination, repositioning themselves around the Zephyrian fleet in a complex three-dimensional pattern. When they rematerialized, every human ship was in the perfect position to attack. Impossible, Drexhan whispered. The human fleet opened fire. Quantum torpedoes tore through space, creating rifts that ignored Zephyrian shields completely. But the attacks weren't random. Each torpedo was precisely aimed to cause maximum damage to multiple targets. In the first 30 seconds of battle, the humans destroyed 50 Zephyrian ships. Return fire! Drexhan screamed. Use the phase disruptors! The Zephyrian ships that carried the new weapons opened fire, filling space with energy designed to disrupt quantum fields. Some of the human ships shuddered as their phantom drives were affected, but instead of retreating, the human fleet adapted instantly. Ships with damaged phantom drives fell back, while fresh vessels moved forward. The fleet consciousness allowed them to reorganize faster than any individual commander could react. Sir, the sensor officer reported. They're moving like a single organism. Perfect coordination across 300 ships. Drexhan realized he was facing something beyond normal military tactics. The human fleet wasn't just coordinated. It was thinking as one mind. The battle raged for 3 hours. The Zephyrians had superior numbers and firepower, but the humans had perfect coordination and the ability to phase in and out of reality. Sarah Chen felt the battle through the shared consciousness of the entire fleet. She could see through 300 pairs of eyes, think with 300 minds, and coordinate attacks with precision no single person could achieve. Focus fire on their command ships, she thought, and instantly every human pilot knew exactly what to do. The human fleet concentrated their attacks on the largest Zephyrian vessels. War Marshal Drexhan watched in horror as his battleships were destroyed one by one. We're losing too many ships, his aide reported. Maybe we should retreat. Never, Drexhan roared. We have them outnumbered. Press the attack. But the numbers were changing. The Zephyrians had started with 500 ships. Now they had less than 300. The humans had lost only 40 vessels. Dr. Martinez, monitoring the battle from her science station, made a disturbing discovery. Captain Chen, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in their remaining ships. They're preparing to overload their weapons. Sarah understood immediately. The Zephyrians were going to sacrifice their entire fleet in one massive attack, hoping to take the humans with them. All ships, she broadcast through the fleet consciousness. Emergency deep phase, maximum quantum displacement. The entire human fleet phased deeper into alternate dimensions than ever before. For a moment, they existed completely outside normal space-time. The Zephyrian fleet detonated their weapons in a coordinated explosion that lit up the entire system. The blast was powerful enough to destroy planets. When the energy faded, Drexhan expected to see nothing but debris. Instead, the human fleet rematerialized exactly where they had been before, completely undamaged. How? He whispered. Sarah Chen's voice came through the communication system. War Marshal Drexhan, you have lost this battle. Surrender now. And We will allow your surviving ships to return home. Drexahan looked around his bridge. Of his 500 ships, only 60 remained operational. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. For the first time in his military career, Drexahan faced the possibility of surrender. "This is War Marshal Drexahan," he transmitted. I surrender." The Battle of Wolf's Gate was over. The mighty Zephyrian Empire had been defeated by an enemy they had dismissed as primitives. But Sarah Chen knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would not accept this defeat quietly. Soon, they would face an enemy even more dangerous than the Zephyrians. "Admiral Torres," she transmitted. "Battle is complete, but I'm detecting strange energy signatures at the edge of the system. Something else is coming." Deep in space, ancient machines that had slept for millions of years were beginning to wake up. The war between humans and Zephyrians had attracted the attention of something far more dangerous than either species could imagine. The real threat to the galaxy was about to reveal itself. The prison ship, Eternal Shame, drifted through space, carrying War Marshal Drexahan and the survivors of the Grand Fleet back to Zephyrian territory. Drexahan sat in his cell, staring at the metal walls and thinking about his defeat. His communication device buzzed with an incoming message. It was from Emperor Zarthul himself. "War Marshal." The Emperor's voice was cold with fury. "You have brought disgrace upon the Empire. 500 ships destroyed by primitives. How do you explain this failure?" Drexahan chose his words carefully. "Your Majesty, the humans are not primitives. They possess technology and tactical abilities beyond anything we have encountered. They fight as a unified mind, controlling hundreds of ships simultaneously." "Impossible," the Emperor snapped. "No species can achieve such coordination." "I have seen it with my own eyes, Your Majesty. We cannot defeat them with conventional warfare." There was a long silence before the Emperor spoke again. "You will be court-martialed when you return. The Empire does not tolerate failure." The communication ended, leaving Drexahan alone with his thoughts. He had spent his entire life serving the Empire, believing in its strength and superiority. Now he knew better. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Zephyrian Empire was falling apart. On the industrial world of Keth Prime, slave workers heard about the defeat at Wolf's Gate and began rioting. On the mining colonies of the Vega system, entire populations declared independence. Across dozens of worlds, species that had been conquered by the Zephyrians saw their chance for freedom. Emperor Zarthul watched the reports flooding in from across his territory. Rebellions were breaking out everywhere. His commanders were requesting reinforcements he couldn't provide, since most of his fleet was destroyed. "Your Majesty," his aide said nervously, "perhaps we should consider negotiating with the humans." The Emperor's claws extended in anger. "The Empire does not negotiate with primitives," but even as he spoke, another report arrived. The industrial world of Thex Dan had declared independence and was requesting human protection. In the Wolf's Gate system, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, reading similar reports. Dozens of alien species were asking humanity for help against the Zephyrian Empire. "Admiral Torres," she said, "we're receiving requests for assistance from across Zephyrian territory. It looks like the Empire is collapsing." Admiral Torres appeared on the main screen from Earth Command. "What's our response, Captain?" "We should help them," Sarah replied. "These species have been enslaved for centuries. They deserve freedom." "Agreed. But we have a bigger problem to worry about." Sarah nodded grimly. During the battle at Wolf's Gate, human sensors had detected something disturbing. Strange energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy, moving toward inhabited space. Dr. Martinez had been studying the data for weeks. "Captain," she reported, "I've analyzed the sensor readings. Whatever is coming, it's not natural. These are artificial constructs, possibly ships." "How big?" Sarah asked. Each one is the size of a small moon, and there are hundreds of them. The discovery had prompted an emergency session of the Earth Defense Council. Scientists and military leaders gathered to discuss the threat. Dr. Webb, Admiral Torres said, "What do we know about these objects?" Dr. Webb activated a holographic display showing the mysterious signals. They're moving in perfect formation toward the galactic core. Their energy signatures don't match any known technology. Could they be another alien species? General Thompson asked. Possible, Dr. Webb replied. But their trajectory suggests they're not exploring. They're advancing with purpose. Sarah studied the display carefully. How long before they reach inhabited space? 6 months, maybe less. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Whatever was coming was larger and more advanced than anything they had ever encountered. There's something else, Dr. Webb continued. These objects are moving through dimensions we can barely detect. They exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Sarah felt a chill. Like our phantom drives? Similar, but far more advanced. They're not just phasing between dimensions, they're controlling them. Admiral Torres made a decision. Captain Chen, I want you to contact the Zephyrian leadership. We need to share this information with them. Admiral? Sarah was surprised. Whatever is coming, it's a threat to all organic life in the galaxy. We can't face it alone. 3 days later, Sarah found herself in the strangest situation of her career. She was sitting across from War Marshal Drexhan in a neutral meeting room on a small asteroid. The Zephyrian looked different than she remembered. His proud bearing was gone, replaced by the weariness of defeat. But his eyes still showed intelligence and determination. Captain Chen, he said in heavily accented English, I did not expect to meet you under these circumstances. War Marshal, Sarah replied, I understand you've been removed from command. The Emperor considers me a failure. Perhaps he is right. Drexhan paused. But I have seen what your people can do. I know the Empire cannot defeat you. Sarah leaned forward. We're not here to discuss surrender terms. We have a bigger problem. She activated a holographic display showing the mysterious objects approaching from the galactic edge. Drexhan studied the data with growing alarm. What are they? He asked. We don't know. But they're heading for inhabited space and they're not responding to any communication attempts. Drexhan's military experience took over as he analyzed the tactical display. These formations, they're not exploratory. This is an invasion force. That's what we think too. Dr. Martinez? Dr. Martinez stepped forward. War Marshal, we've detected energy signatures that suggest these objects exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They're using technology similar to our phantom drives, but far more advanced. Drexhan was quiet for a long moment. I have seen records of such things in the Empire's oldest archives. Ancient legends speak of machine intelligences that once ruled the galaxy. Machines? Sarah asked. The Devourers. According to legend, they consumed all organic life in the galactic core millions of years ago. Then they went dormant, waiting for new civilizations to develop. Dr. Martinez pulled up another display. That matches our analysis. These objects are following a pattern consistent with systematic harvesting of inhabited worlds. How do we stop them? Sarah asked. Drexhan shook his head. According to the legends, they cannot be stopped, only delayed. That's why the ancient civilizations built warning systems throughout the galaxy. Warning systems? Hidden bases designed to alert future civilizations to the danger. The Empire found one such base on our homeworld. It's how we learned to travel between stars. Sarah felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together. War Marshal, would you be willing to share the location of this base? Drexhan considered carefully. In exchange for what? An alliance. Our peoples working together against the real threat. The Emperor will never agree to an alliance with humans. Then we'll have to convince him. Sarah activated her quantum communicator. Admiral Torres, I need authorization for a direct meeting with Emperor Zarthul. Admiral Torres appeared on the screen. Captain, that's extremely dangerous. The Emperor has sworn to destroy humanity. With respect, Admiral, we don't have a choice. If these machines are what the Zephyrians think they are, neither of our species will survive alone. Agreed. You have authorization for diplomatic contact. 2 days later, an unprecedented event occurred. A human ship arrived at Nexus Prime, the capital of the Zephyrian Empire, flying under a flag of truce. Emperor Zarthul sat on his throne, surrounded by his guards, as Captain Sarah Chen walked into his throne room. She was the first human ever to set foot on the Zephyrian homeworld. So, the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the chamber, the primitives come to offer terms of surrender. Your Majesty, Sarah replied calmly, I come to offer something more valuable than surrender. I offer survival. She activated a portable holographic projector, showing the approaching machine fleet. These objects will reach inhabited space in less than 6 months. When they do, they will destroy every living thing in the galaxy. The Emperor studied the display with growing concern. Why should I believe you? Because War Marshal Drexhan has already confirmed it. Your own ancient records speak of the Devourers. The Emperor's eyes widened. Few people knew about the ancient archives. Sarah continued. Your Majesty, our species have been fighting each other while ignoring the real threat. These machines have been waiting millions of years for organic life to develop again. Now they're coming to harvest us all. What do you propose? An alliance. Our phantom drive technology combined with your knowledge of the ancient warnings. Together, we might find a way to fight back. The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. And if we refuse? Then both our species will be extinct within a year. The throne room fell silent. Every Zephyrian present understood the choice before them. Swallow their pride and work with their enemies, or face extinction alone. Emperor Zarthul stood up from his throne. Captain Chen, you present a compelling argument. I agree to a temporary alliance against this common threat. Sarah felt relief flood through her. Thank you, Your Majesty. Our scientists are ready to begin sharing information immediately. There is one condition, the Emperor added. War Marshal Drexhan will command the joint fleet. He is the only Zephyrian who truly